Hey, everybody. My apologies. It's 1 o'clock. We have an appointment. I had to take a call one of those days. And I have laryngitis, guys. Not
Megan, I'm
COVID.
going to make you host, okay?
Yes, please, so I can share my screen and get my stuff up here. Try not to lose my voice while we're doing this. Okay, there's that. There we go. Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. Megan out here. And we are going to do a buyer consult. If somebody wants to volunteer to role play or what, we can do that. I'm open to that. If you just want me to walk you through what I do, which I'll do a little bit of that, that's fine as well. And then I have Kim Johnstone on the call here. She's helping assist me. So if there's things that I promise to deliver to you guys, she's going to be the one to email them out. Like if there's things that you want to, that I share and you want to see or want to have a copy of, just let me know. I'm happy to send that information to you. So I guess I'm just going to start with how would I screen a buyer call? So prospective buyer calls or text messages me and asks for information, or they're interested in a property, or you know what, I had this happen the other day. They called off the sign in the yard and we're really interested, but that house closes tomorrow, so it's not an option for them. So what I do is I kind of go through and I start having a conversation with them about what they're looking to do, and I pre-qualify them while I'm having this conversation. So I'm gonna—
Megan, I can role play with you if you need me to.
Sure, we can do that. Let me pull my form and tell you the form, and that's how I do it. I do the conversation via the form here. So let me put my screen so you can see it. Okay, hold on. Okay, wait, what do you see?
Finding your new home, a custom client.
Hold on. That's what happens when you move stuff. Okay, do you see this form? Home buyer tenant lead sheet?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. Too many screens, guys. Move you over here. So it looks weird, but my camera's on this screen and I'm looking at this other screen. All right, so the top information is contact information. Hey, well, what's your name? You're calling in today. Okay, let me go for the form and then we'll role play, right?
Okay.
The middle information's for me, for my assistant to put this into command later. But we really start with that motivation section. Why are you moving? Also note up here at the top, I have this for buyer/tenant because I work tenant leads as well. So this form is one form for both leads, and I just choose the questions that apply based on who's calling me. So we'll go over motivation. Why are you moving? When do you need to move? All that good stuff. Price, month, year, all that. Some of these questions down here at the bottom, like, are you approved? You need to know that, because if they haven't started that process, then you have the opportunity to either introduce them to somebody or ask, hey, do you have a lender that you're already working with or that you would like to work with? Asking that question, do you have any concerns over your rental application, loan application? That's a big one. I'll tell you a story about that later. All right, on page 2, I've got these tags right here are like types of homes. SFR is single family residential. Do they want a single family home, not attached to anything else? Do they want a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, a condo, a townhome? You can choose all those options. And so you need to know. The only one I don't put on here is apartment, because I try not to do those for tenants, but sometimes you have to. It pays like as much. Bedrooms, bathrooms, 1 and 2 story. Bedrooms on the main level is a big one you want to ask, because you may be showing them houses and they're like, you keep showing us houses with the master on the 2nd floor. We don't want that. But if you'd asked, you could pre-qualify that. Age of property is important to some, but not all. Parking is important to some, but not all. Style is like traditional, colonial, Cape Cod, which they actually have a bunch of that over here in Allen. Construction type could be new or pre-owned. That's usually what I put there. And then lot size, how big of a backyard do they want? And I kind of put that too, because if somebody's looking for like, I need an acre, I would put it over there on an acre. School district. And then here's where I say, is there anything on this list we didn't cover? Is there any deal breakers? And I start to go into that. So Ray, you want to role play?
Yes.
Okay, so you're calling me off a house and a sign in the yard in Rowlett. You're looking for a house
Okay.
in Rowlett.
All
All right,
right. Ring, ring.
Hi, this is Megan. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, this is Ray. I see that you have a sign in the yard here on one of your houses in Rowlett, and me and my wife we were wanting to take a look at it and potentially, see if it fits our needs.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Is it the one over on Willowbrook? Is that the one?
Yes, that's the one.
Awesome. Oh man, I would love to show you that one, but it actually closes tomorrow. A buyer already swooped in and grabbed it from you.
Oh man, okay. All right,
Well,
well, thank you. I appreciate it.
oh, no worries. Hey, I'm curious, when do you need to move?
Our lease is up in February of next year, so we're just trying to get a jump start and just kind of look in advance.
Oh man, that's a good idea. This process can take a couple months, so that's a really good idea. Where would you like to move?
We like the Rowlett area, but we're open to maybe even McKinney, Rowlett, maybe even like Wiley on that side of the DFW.
Oh, all great areas we service as well. Have you any idea what kind of price range you were looking at? I know that home you saw was 245. You guys have an idea if that's the budget?
Well, currently we're paying about 1,800 a month in rent, so not sure what that looks like as far as a price range, but somewhere in there, at least 1,800. Nothing. I mean, we were comfortable with that.
Okay. Have you already maybe spoken to a lender to kind of see what your budget might be?
No, I mean, we just jump in a car and we ride around. If we'll look at houses on Realtor.com or Zillow, and we just like to drive around and see if we like the neighborhood or what have you. And but no, we haven't talked to a lender.
Man, that's awesome. You're just like me. I love driving around and looking at houses. That's
Yep.
awesome. Well, let me ask, would you like to talk to a lender to kind of figure out what your budget would allow?
I don't know. Would they like run your credit and all of that?
They don't have to run your credit at first. It's kind of a conversation like we're having where they're going to get to know you and ask you a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish. And, if you really feel a good, comfortable vibe there, then, and you real feel you're ready for that next step, you may go ahead and have the credit pulled. But an initial conversation is free and it gives you an idea of what direction you're moving in. Would you be comfortable with that?
Mm, yeah, I think that'd be okay. Yeah, that'd be fine.
Great. Well, let me ask you a couple other things just to get to know what you're looking for, because we might have another property out there in Rowlett for you.
Okay.
Um, how many people are moving with you?
It'd be my wife, myself, my wife, and two kids.
Okay.
Mhm.
What size home are you looking for?
I don't know sizes. Like right now, we're in a two-bedroom apartment, and it's really cramped.
Got it.
Um, as far as square footage, I don't know, but at least I would say that at least three bedrooms, if not four, would be perfect if we can fit it within that price range.
Okay. Well, that one you were looking at there, it's about 1,700 square feet, three bedrooms, two bath. It has decent sized bedrooms and actually a pretty big master bedroom. So that 1,700, maybe up to 2,000, 2,100, maybe. Do you think that might
Yeah,
be the size?
yeah. I think I looked at some of the pictures online, so I did like kind of the layout. So if that's 1,700, then yeah, somewhere in that range to start would be fine.
Okay, great. You guys have any pets moving with you?
No, 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 no.
Okay, I'm gonna break script real quick and say the reason I asked that, it's mainly for leases, but I ask it for a buyer because that already kind of tells me if they want a big backyard. And I like it. It does connection. All right, back into script. All right, well, let's see. Three bedrooms, two bathrooms, you said. That's the minimum?
Yeah, I mean, we figured this probably be our first home, a starter home. So, not trying to break the budget. We're kind of nervous on the payments and the responsibilities as well. So, yeah, I think that'll be fine.
That's fair enough. Do you guys want a one-story or a two-story?
Prefer two-story. We do want a
Right.
two-story.
Okay. What about that master bedroom? What level would it be on when you have a two-story?
We need it on the first level. You hadn't met my kids
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
yet.
Okay. What about parking? Do you guys need a two-car garage or does it matter?
Yes, definitely a two-car garage.
Okay, great. What about like style of house and age? Like think traditional or modern or colonial. Does any of that matter to you?
I'm really not familiar with house styles, but kind of like the one in Rowlett that's in a subdivision, brick. It just looked nice when you pull up. Is kind of what we're looking for. So I'm not sure what style you would call that,
Absolutely. It's actually called traditional, but that makes sense.
but
Brick home makes sense. It's also one that was updated, so that's a great question. Do you want a completely move-in ready home, or are you open to some projects?
um, the more move-in ready, the better. I'm not too worried about little cosmetic things, but granite countertops is something we're looking for. Hardwood flooring, things like that.
Okay. All right. Any other special amenities or features about the home that you would like to see?
Definitely an open floor plan where the kitchen opens to the living room. That's an absolute must for us because we do a lot of entertaining.
Okay.
Special features, maybe like a game room or a media room would be a plus or a bonus. And now I need an office at home now because I work from home.
Ah, yeah, that is a big one for buyers right now. So many people are
Mhm.
like, I need an extra space. Let me ask, do you need the office to be an enclosed space?
No, not necessarily. I'm normally here by myself throughout the day, so it doesn't have to be enclosed, but just a designated space for an office would be what we're looking
Fair enough. All right, cool. What about the backyard or the size of the lot or maybe even the location, like corner versus interior or cul-de-sac? Does any of that matter to you?
for. A cul-de-sac would be good. I think just to have the kids outside playing in the front yard and not having to go to the backyard all the time. As far as the size of the backyard, maybe something that's just large enough for maybe a trampoline and maybe like a play set or something. So not huge, but something that can at least accommodate that.
Okay, great. Are there any deal breakers that just, gosh, if you saw it, you would totally walk away and say, that is not for me?
Um, if it did not have separate tub and shower in the master, that would absolutely be a deal breaker.
Okay, great. Well, is there anything else here that we need on this wish list that maybe we don't have?
No, I think we pretty much covered it with everything that you reviewed. I can't think of anything else right off the top of my head.
Awesome. Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you and man, I would love to sit down with you and your wife and talk a little bit more about how we can find this dream home that you guys are envisioning. Do you have some
Okay.
time maybe this weekend?
Yeah, we can do this Saturday.
Great. I'm actually open at 10 a.m. on Saturday. We could even meet out in the Starbucks there in Rowlett since you're already in that area. Would that work for you?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'll send you a calendar invite. That's awesome, Ray. Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Any
job.
any questions on that role play, guys? It's a quiet bunch.
Do you um do you ask about like financial questions like your credit score or income, things of that nature?
I don't do that, especially if they say they have not yet talked to a lender. And it's
Okay,
because that's a really, like, if you start with that, it kind of pushes them away from you. So I just start talking all about the house. Remember this? And honestly, I just did that like 2 days ago and have an appointment at 11 on Saturday. So 'cause she called off the sign. So I don't get into that. What I do is set the whole framework up. I do touch on the question about the lender and if they're approved or not.
okay,
And like the one from this week said, they aren't, but they would be interested in talking to a lender. They just kind of want to, they're not from here, so they want to know the process first.
okay,
So if I even get in further and it feels like they're comfortable with this, with everything, then I say, are you open to having a lender at the meeting where we talk about the process? And I'd be very clear about it and say, I won't be present when you're talking to the lender about your financials. I just want to make sure that they're also available and you have the right to interview this lender along with any other lenders, but this might be that time for you to gather information. And if they say yes, then I go ahead and reach out to all of my lenders and say who's available. And if somebody's available, then they either jump on Zoom or they come to the location where we're at. And I walk away when that meeting's going. And they basically have their consult after me. I do 30 minutes and then they do 30 minutes.
okay,
Does that answer it?
yes.
Okay, yeah. Because it really turns people off when you start asking like, where's your credit? Now on tenants, you kind of need to know that. So what
Right.
I do with a tenant is say, sorry, I say, hey, let me send you an email with the general
Mhm.
criteria, general, and it has a very general because every landlord could be a little different. And you can kind of review that and you can review the application and the form and go through it and understand what information you need to gather. And then once you get all of that, once you get all that information, you can email it back to me or let me know you have it and I'll meet you and pick it up from you. And I have started doing that with tenants because I refuse to go show tenants houses without knowing that they're qualified. And they have to fill out a TAR application for me. I wasted a lot of time in the beginning doing that. And I like working with tenants, but I even have a repeat tenant right now that I'm like, if you don't fill out that application and send it to me, I'm not showing you a house.
Right.
I know her job situation changed and I want to verify that I'm going to actually be able to get her in a house. Otherwise, I'm opening a door for you and for $0.
Right.
So that's how I do that one. And I can send you that template if you want that. It's a template email and then I attach the TAR application
Okay.
and a checklist of what they need to gather. I do that as well. So no questions about the form. The only thing that we can see when I scripted, I asked about deal breakers, special features, amenities. The only other thing that may not be on here that you might get when talking to them is if other people are involved. So it's him and his spouse, but what if it was a newlywed couple and mom and dad wanted to be part of the process because maybe they were gifting some money. If somewhere in that conversation they hint at something like that, I'm going to ask more about it and I'm going to put notes. Kim can see this. She sees my notes everywhere. I'm going to put notes somewhere on this page about that because I'm going to try to circle back and get that additional information later. Because they may be parties that need to be involved, but not be like my actual clients, or like, I had a buyer this year that it was her and her mom buying, but she had a power of attorney over her mom. So I never met her mom like in person because her mom was elderly and did not want to be exposed to anybody for COVID. But I got all the information and I knew who she was and all the documents and the power of attorney was in the daughter's name anyways. But I needed to know that while I was screening her. All right, well, let's get to the appointment. So we've done all this. We're going to the appointment. Let me show you that. Can you guys see my screen? It's my PowerPoint.
Yes.
Yes, you can. Sweet. All right, so this is my presentation, which most of them this year have been on Zoom. Most all of my buyer presentations have been on Zoom. I think probably one of the first ones I'm going in person is this weekend. But if they're comfortable doing in person, I want to do it. I have 2 seller appointments today that are in person, and I had one on Friday that was in person. So anyways, I'll jump on Zoom with whomever needs to be involved, and I'll go to the appointment with whomever needs to be involved. And what I have when I'm in person is a binder. This one's my seller one, but it has my presentation printed out. The one you see on the screen, I'll have it in my buyer one. And I just go through, and it's how I know what I'm supposed to talk about is I have the presentation. That's super important, because if you get there and you don't know what to talk about, they're not going to get warm fuzzies. All right, so this one actually came from Command, from Designs, and then I way tweaked it because I like to personalize. In fact, all the photos are photos of houses I've sold, which you can do that for a buyer or a seller. I probably even have a buyer's house in here somewhere. And in the beginning, I probably only had one or two, and guess what? I used all their photos.
Megan, where did you say you got that again?
Command in Designs, and you just go in. Kim, will you help them on that later? She'll tell you where to find it. Maybe you can throw it in the chat. I don't know where, but there's a template. There's a template. And then I downloaded it and tweaked it. I don't know if it's even in PowerPoint. I don't know. Kim, you're the guru on that. I'll have you help. All right. So next up, they see the cover page, don't really say anything about that. I do start with thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come and sit down with you today and talk about your real estate needs. I know that there are a lot of realtors in the Metroplex, and I don't take it for granted that I'm here today. So that's kind of my opening line, unless they derail me. All right, and then I say, okay, this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about your preferences, your dream home, your neighborhood, the buying 101, the nuts and bolts of it. We're going to talk about the service we provide for you, our promise and commitment to you, and then I'm going to close with a thank you. All right, so their needs come first. Again, this is the PowerPoint from Command, but I modified some of it a little bit. So I'm talking to them about their home and what they're looking for, and I'm asking them to kind of tell me a little bit about that, reviewing what they've already told me on the phone. But especially if I have that other person there, I really want to get from the other person. So I'll probably take a blank, either notepad or a blank one of those forms with me and start filling it out again. Because I really want to make sure that something didn't change between the phone call and the appointment, or maybe they thought of more stuff to add. So I'm really kind of going through that again and get them to tell me what's important about this move and what's important about this dream home. Then I start asking, have you considered who will be the main contact, especially if it's not an individual buying? So if it is like the mom and daughter, it was the daughter. If it's a couple, maybe it's the wife is more available, or maybe it's the husband's more available. And so I asked them to tell me whom they would like me to first reach out to for some, like if I need something immediate. I try always to loop everybody in the communication, but if I need some piece of information now, I'm going to try to reach the person that's easiest to reach. So I'll ask them about that. And y'all putting stuff in chat. Can you have the questionnaires? Oh yeah, we'll send it to you. That's why Kim's on here. Whatever I promise to send, Kim will send it. Drop your emails in there though, in the comments or in the chat, sorry. I asked them what timeline, and that's very important because somebody telling me they need to move right now, I'm kind of going to dig into that and go, why? What's the urgency? Not really say why, but okay, how can we help you move quickly? What is perpetuating the move? And I'm going to dig into that a little bit deeper and find out more. Most people, though, that when I sit down and talk to them, even when I asked the question originally in the phone call, when do you want to move by? Most of them are looking 3 to 6 months out anyways. And that's the ideal time frame. My scripted line that I tell everybody, buyer or seller, is that this whole process takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months, start to finish, first thought to last box packed. That's my whole script. And then I will say it can deviate if you've got things like a divorce, a death, a relocation, a aging parents moving out kind of a thing. You know, there's several other things that can pop up that can change that. If you're doing new construction over a pre-owned home, that can change your timeline. But generally, if it's one house to another, 3 to 6 months. I ask again about the lender. Maybe between the time I talk to them and now they have contacted a lender. If they have contacted their own lender, I'm fine with that. I just like to be in the loop with whom, because it's a team sport and lenders have to be part of the transaction. So I want to get to know who this lender is. I would generally try to recommend my lender, and I've had situations where a buyer wanted to use their own lender instead of using the ones I recommended. And I said, that's fine. Here are the things that we need to look for. Ability to get you a pre-approval letter for a specific house on a Saturday or a Sunday when we're going to be looking. Does your lender work weekends? That's a big one, guys. I actually got a client to go from their lender to mine because of that, because they were in a bidding war and we needed a letter for the house that we were making an offer on. So you'll get when a buyer gets approved, you'll get a generic letter for their budget, but I always tailor the final offer to have a letter of approval for that house. And my lenders that I work with do that as well. So I always tell the buyer that. I say, hey, that I'm fine with that. Ask them these questions. Also ask them, how long does it take them to close a transaction? If it's more than 30 days, we need to be really concerned about that, or we need to be careful about that, because you may be in a competitive bidding war where 30 days or less matters. So ask that question, and then I will ask them to confirm who will be the point of contact through the process. So the buyers that want to go with Quicken Mortgage or Rocket Mortgage, which I've had some do, it is not the person that they first talk to. Heck, it's not even the second or third person. You get almost 4 or 5 different people throughout the transaction, which can be frustrating for the agent and the title company and the agent on the other side and lots of other people, because they don't know who they're supposed to talk to you. So ask your client, potential client, who's the point of contact at the lender's office? There's actually more I could go into there, but we're running out of time. So that's the tip of the iceberg there. Ray, you got anything to add on that? Or he stepped away. Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm still here. Yeah, that's pretty much the same process that I use when I'm first meeting with buyers, just still keeping it real level, not really being pressing, but you want to first find out their sense of urgency and match it.
Bingo. That also can help you match them to the right lender. So I'll have mine.
Absolutely.
I have a folder here to grab it. If I have not already given them this folder before, sorry guys, before I see them, I will give it to them there. And in it will have, I don't have it printed at the moment, but in it will have the list of lenders. And so as I'm talking with them and sitting there, I may kind of figure out their personality style and go, I think they would really match well with this person. And I've done that before. I feel like you can contact all of these, but hey, you know, while I've gotten to know you, I really think you're going to like so-and-so. They really are a lot like you. And I think you really might like them. So I'm going to suggest you call them first, but please interview these 3 and any others you'd like to interview.
Yeah, and then, you know, letting them know if it's within that 30 days, it doesn't, you know, count against their credit or anything. And I also put in there to let them fight for your business, you know, so you can look at apples to apples, and you may get a lower rate for origination fees or what have you. So I've had that happen before. Someone came to me pre-approved, suggested just to shop rates, and they were able to get a lower rate with no origination fees. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Now we're on to the dream home slide where it all begins. Oops, going too fast. Okay. And remember, I've already gathered their list of their must-haves and their nice-to-haves, but I'm touching on it again. So let's say there's something they really said they wanted to have a house on a cul-de-sac, and they want it in Plano, and they want it for $250,000. I'm already kind of going to know by what they're telling me that it might be hard to find that. So I'm going to touch again on tell me again, what are the top 5 most important things you have to have? Like there's no way you're going to buy it if these 5 aren't in the house, because they may have a laundry list of things and we've got to decide what's most important. I actually have some buyers right now that they were not on the same page about the chickens. And one said, okay, we don't care if we're taking the chickens or not. The other one said, we do care. And then I showed them a house in an HOA that doesn't allow the chickens because they wanted to see this house. But that also gave an opportunity for us to necessitate that conversation about, is this in the top 5? Is it really in the top 5 or can it go to the bottom of the list and we're looking for the other things? And that whole experience necessitated them having a real heart-to-heart about these chickens. And now the chickens are on the list. Well, that obviously took our search pool to like this. But that's one of those things where sometimes you have to get out in the field with them to really nudge that conversation. But if you can do it in that buyer consult, then that's a great way. It also helps you identify their personality. And of course, the nice to haves are the things that are below the top 5. Yeah, it'd be awesome to have an open concept, but we're okay if there's a little separation. They're going to tell you that as you touch upon it again. All right, and then we talk about neighborhood and getting to know what's important about a neighborhood. So like this house right here, like this one was facing a green belt. Well, is that important to them? Is it important to them to be on a corner lot? Is it important to them to be in an HOA neighborhood? Or do they want an HOA that has a lot of amenities like up in Salina and Prosper? Do they want one of those massive built communities that has every amenity you can think of? Or do they want something that's small? Do they want maybe a volunteer HOA, you know, in an older neighborhood in Richardson kind of a thing? So I'm going to talk to them about it and I'm going to tell them some of these buyers don't have a clue, especially the first time ones, what kind of neighborhood. But if you start talking to them about it and you say things like, what kind of feeling are you looking for in a neighborhood? What kind of a culture? What kind of environment? And just ask those questions and then let them talk and make notes about that. Obviously, you can't search MLS for culture, but you may be able to rack your brain for neighborhoods that have that. Okay. And then we're going to jump into the 101, the mechanics, the how-tos. This slide, I stay on this slide or this page a lot, and I talk for a long time, and I try to break it into sections like 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5, and something like that, because it's a lot of information. And it can get very overwhelming, especially to an I. A D doesn't really care. They want you to get to the point. An S and a C are taking it in. I'm an S. My husband's a C. The C, I have the C clients with the chicken right now. And they're really like, okay, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. And they want the data behind the process. So make sure you go slow through this and you really take the time to ask if they have questions. So I'll explain to them, you know, this is the roadmap. First, you're going to meet with a professional real estate agent to talk about this process. Today, we're going to iron out the map for you because everybody's journey to home ownership is different. So we're going to get that map drawn up here. Next steps after this meeting would be to get pre-approved if you have not done that already. And I've got a list of lenders here you can contact. You can also contact lenders you already know. And remember, you have 30 days to do that, in which it won't impact your credit because you are shopping for a mortgage provider. And I've got a slide in here that will tell them everything they need to have to do that part. And then I start telling them about, you're going to start searching for homes. One of the things we're going to do after this appointment is send you our app. Our app allows you to search for homes anywhere you're at. So it's geo-specific. But it also connects you to our listing service, to my listing service, and gives you real-time data. It tells you if that house is available. And you can also use Zillow, you can use Realtor, Trulia. I just want you to also cross-reference against our app because there's delays in the data from Zillow and Trulia and Realtor. And our app can kind of give that to you. And then if you still aren't seeing what you want, feel free to text us or call us and say, hey, can you check on the status of this house? That's really important in our market today because it's a fast moving market that we're in right now. As you search for the homes, you'll get daily emails from the listing service with us or set up on your search parameters. And you'll go in there and you will heart anything you love, light bulb the maybes, the not so sure about them. And then of course, trash anything that you're like, Megan, how'd that even get in there? So put those in the trash can. And we're going to give you some time to kind of go through and build a list of these homes that you really want to see. And then also keep in mind, some of them move very quickly. So you'll look at it today and it's gone tomorrow. But we're going to give you some time to do that. Once you've found the dream home, which happens between steps 3 and 4, where we go out and look at homes, we're going to say, okay, it's time to make an offer. And that's when I'm going through the script here, you guys. Okay, I gotta have time. We're going to make an offer here. And before we make an offer, what I'm going to do is contact the seller's agent and find out what the seller's looking for in an offer. And I'm going to bring that information to you. I'm also going to bring to you the comparative market analysis, letting you know what's going on in that neighborhood for that size home at that age home. We're going to go through all of that. Then you're going to make an offer. It's a written offer that gets sent to the seller. The seller can either accept it, reject it, or counter. Let's say they go ahead and accept your offer. Then you'll move into the negotiation phase. This is when you have an option period, an unrestricted right to terminate the contract, and your right to inspect the property. It's generally between 7 and 10 days. It can be a lot less, especially if we're in a bidding war. And we'll talk more about that later. And guys, that whole bidding war conversation, I may not be having this conversation in a year. We may have too much inventory. I don't know. So you really have to tailor your presentation to what the market is right now. And if it is a competitive bidding war, you're going to want to say that over and over and over, because you want these clients to understand that they cannot take 4 months to look for a house. I have a client like that right now. It's just not going to happen because it's going to be gone. It's going to be gone. Anything they look at today will not be there tomorrow. All right, so sorry, back into my script here. Okay, so you're going to go through the negotiations. We're going to inspect the property. And when you find things in the inspector's report that are concerning to you, I'm sorry, the baby just woke up. Just 1 minute, let me be right back. I'm back. All right. Maybe Abigail's with us. All right. Okay. So we're going to find things that may be of concern to you. You have the right to bring any additional inspectors you would like. And then once we create a list of requests, we'll start negotiating with the seller. And we're going to want to ask for things that are, reasonable, that the seller can either repair, or perhaps they can give you a credit at closing so that you can repair it afterwards. Or maybe it's just something that you're comfortable handling as a repair on your own. And we'll go through that when we're doing the inspections. After all of that's happened and we've gotten through the inspections and everything is good, then the lender is going to start doing their part. They're going to start preparing the file for closing. They're going to request your employment record, verify your employment again. They're going to request probably some more documentation from you. They're really going to be digging in there and getting things ready. We'll also be getting any HOA documents from the title company if that applies. We'll be getting the title work from the title company, which you'll need to review. And I kind of go through all those things that happen in that interim phase. Then we're going to get up to number 7 here, the final 3 days before closing. We're going to try to schedule your final walkthrough of the property at least the 4th or 5th day prior to closing, so that we allow enough time for things that might pop up. So a final walkthrough gives you an opportunity to see the house one more time, take measurements for the furniture you want to get after closing. Remember, we can't get any furniture before closing, and I'll go to that in a minute. But it gives you that opportunity. It also gives us the opportunity to check on any repairs that the seller was intending to make during this time period. So we'll do that walkthrough, and then the 3rd day before closing, the lender is going to issue to you a closing disclosure, which is a list of all the fees associated with the loan. And that's your time to really go through it and make sure you understand the costs associated with buying the home. And then we're going to go to closing on day 3. That's when you're going to bring your driver's license, your final amount of money that you need for closing. We're gonna go in, takes about an hour to close and sign all the paperwork. And then a few hours later, they're gonna call us and say, you're done, you're funded, here's the keys. And they're gonna tell you how to pick up the keys to the house. And that's the whole process. Any questions? And see how that was a lot, guys. So you wanna make sure you just stop and just like live in the silence for a minute, because they're gonna be like, oh my God, they're gonna be like glossed over. It's crazy. So sometimes I might back up if I felt like they were lost in one of these steps, or maybe they interrupted and asked a question. And if so, then I would go back and focus on that question. But that's really the guts. Now, as to their specific plan, that's where you get into the nitty gritty of like getting them approved, and do they need to sell to buy? Are they, you know, are they divorcing, kind of a thing, and who's going where? So there's all those variables that are them, and that's how you get the plan. Even with a seller, like sitting down at a seller appointment doesn't mean tomorrow you're going on the market. Sitting down at a buyer appointment doesn't mean tomorrow you're buying a house. It may be, okay, like I had a buyer appointment last month and he's got 2 or 3 months to get his finances in order. And then we're going to start looking. So we have like a check-in point each month. And that's a good thing to do. If you have a buyer that you sign this week, but they're not going to actually buy till 2021, make sure you have a check-in point at least once a month at minimum, or maybe every other week, kind of a thing, where you're just checking on their status to make sure they're following your instructions and getting on board.
Hey, Megan,
Yes.
when you're going over your roadmap portion, do you talk to them about like earnest money, option money, the cost for a home inspection, those type of fees as well?
I will get to that.
Okay, that's a little bit later. Okay.
Sometimes I say it in there, yes, because they like interrupt and ask a question, but it's in, hang on, it's in one of these other slides. But if they kind of interrupt and ask me that, I'll go ahead and throw it in then. And then I revisit it in another slide. Yes. Okay, so we talked a minute ago in the roadmap about getting approved. So you're going to contact the lender and you're going to talk to them and have a consultation like you're doing with me. And you're going to start that application process. Some of the things you're going to need are your pay stubs, bank statements for at least the last several months, tax returns for the last couple of years, proof of employment, and probably some additional information. Most of the lenders have an online application, but you're going to have to collect the data, and it's a lot of paper. So just be ready for that. Most lenders right now, actually I need to change that. It's 640 for most lenders. I haven't heard of anybody allowing a 620 right now. If you know somebody, tell me please. 640 is what I know of, minimum credit score required. Okay, this is where I touch again on searching and using our app, Zillow, Realtor, Trulio, and then of course the emails that we get them. And this is where I tell them, you're going to want to search for at least 2 weeks here or 3 weeks, especially if, you know, like let's say their timeline is 2 or 3 months from now to buy. Well, I'm not going to immediately go show them houses. I'm going to have them looking and creating a wish list, like a Pinterest board concept. And then I'm going to set a date at least 2 or 3 weeks from now, maybe even a month from now, to go looking at homes together. Unless there's an urgency, you know, but I want to have, even if there's an urgency, I still want a week in between there, because they need to really see what's out there to start creating a wish list and a want list. Otherwise, I'm going to be showing them the wrong kinds of homes. So I tell them, okay, let's create our wish list. Let's set our date for when we're going to go see homes. And prior to that, let's say it's a Saturday, prior to Saturday, no later than Thursday of that week, we want your list of 10 homes that you would like to see. And the reason we ask for 10 is likely 5 of them are already going to be gone by the time we schedule the showing. So we generally like to show between 5 and 8. Most often we end up showing 5 homes in one day. That doesn't mean that's all you'll ever see. Just in one day, we try no more than 8 homes with like a minimum of 5. And the reason for that is it's very overwhelming to a buyer when you're seeing house after house after house. It's very hard to remember house 1 from house 5, truthfully. So we would set up a time, 2 or 3 hours, to go see a couple homes If we don't find your dream home, then we'll schedule another day to go out again and give you a couple more days in between to look for homes. That's really important, guys. And when I have a team and a buyer's agent, like I'm not letting them do anything else, because buyers don't know what they want after you show them 25 houses. They can't envision it. They just get too overwhelmed and they can't pick. You go, I don't know what I want. So you need to try to not like hone them in, just try to make the process efficient. Hi. No, not right now. All right. Then we're gonna make an offer. This is when I start telling them about the money. So I'll remind them I'm gonna look for the seller's wants. I'm gonna look at the neighborhood statistics. I'm gonna remind them here or tell them here, hey, this is when you're gonna need to have that option money and that earnest money ready. So if it's a house for $200,000, it's generally 1%. You're gonna need $2,000 in cash that you can make out in a cashier's check, or maybe they'll let you wire it. Or maybe it's a personal check, just depends on the title company. And then you're gonna need about $100 for the option money, and that's made out to the seller. You'll also need, after we get into the closing time or the contract, you'll need monies for the inspector and the appraisal and stuff like that. So I'll kind of go over those monies right here. I'll ask them to pick a closing date that jives with what the lender can do, and then we'll sign and submit the offer. Once the offer is accepted, we're delivering the money, contacting an inspector. I'll tell them about that, tell them we're going to send them our list of vendors. They'll have to pay, and they'll ask me what's the average cost, and I'll tell them, $400 to $500, $550, maybe more if you have a pool at the property, or if you're going to bring a termite inspector, or maybe you want to bring a plumber. Is that how many? Oh, yes, it is. Hold on, my mother-in-law came. Goodness. Who is that? Who is that? Who is that? Sorry, guys, this is what it's like to work at home with children. Okay. All right. I'm going to tell them about home insurance. You really want to tell them that during the option period that they need to contact their home insurance company. Bob has said this a million times. Because what if they find out the home can't be insured for some reason? What if the home insurance company discovers something? That actually happened with a seller I had. So the insurance ended up being a big factor, and oh my gosh, the negotiations were tough on that one. So tell them to contact their insurance company. It doesn't mean they're paying anything, but they need to contact them and tell them, this is the property we have under contract. Can you guys insure it? And then they need to not be surprised at what the insurance amount will be. If for some reason they find that out and it's not something they like and they're still in their option period, they can terminate. I'm going to talk to them about, working with the lender to finalize the mortgage during the process, and then the final walk. And I'm going to, again, tell them I want to walk 4 to 5 days out from closing, because what if something happens? We just had that on a file last month where we did that. Everything was fine. A couple days later, the seller moved the refrigerator out of the house. The day we closed, we went over there after, closing like 6 o'clock, 6:30. There was standing water all over the kitchen. But if we hadn't conducted the final walk and known the quality of the property prior, we would have had a hard time proving what happened and who did it. Thankfully, we had an amazing seller that worked with us. But that's why you really want to conduct that final walk, to see what condition the property is in before it turns possession from seller to buyer. And then here is my do this, don't do this. And I stay on this for a minute. I make sure. Now, if they really seem to understand, or maybe they've bought a house before, I don't stay on this slide. But if they don't, and they're first timers, I'm going to literally say, notify of any address changes, notify of any salary changes, gather all bank statements for the lender, get insurance, keep all debt paid and in check. Like, if they don't hear this from me and the lender, they're going to go, and I've had buyers do this, they're going to go buy something, and now they're not qualified to buy the house anymore because they didn't know they shouldn't have done that. Don't change jobs. I had a buyer do that. She thought she was making the right job change. No, don't do that. Don't change jobs. You can do it after closing. I don't care what you do after closing. Don't do it before. All right, and now I go into talking about us. I tell them about dedicated showing assistance, contingency. This is just something about my company that we do. We do a moving day meal, which is not necessarily the day they move in. Sometimes it's another day after or 2 days after. There's a lot of hustle and bustle, but when you first moved in and everything's still in a box, heck, you don't know where to find something to cook. So we send them a meal. They'll get access to any vendors that we use. And I have testimonials in here. I also have it in the folder that they get. And I tell them who my team is. And then I tell them about the promise, which is kind of what I said at the beginning, that I don't take it for granted that I'm here today. And I promise to deliver the most amazing customer service experience that you've ever had. And when I do that, I ask 2 things of you. The first is for a referral to a family member, friend, somebody you know, trust, like, that needs to buy or sell or invest in real estate. And the second is for your valuable feedback, because I won't know how well I did without your review at the end, and we'll send you a link for that review. Sometimes we bug them, like, give me that review. That's it, guys. What questions you got? We got 10 minutes. Wait, where's my chat? Hold on. I gotta find this.
Hey, Megan, I know you said that you sent over your app so they can search homes. And do you also set up the search in MLS where it's automatically send homes?
Yeah. Well, Kim does. Yeah. I do. Yeah.
Cool.
I do. I'll text them the app right there if I can, like if I have the opportunity to do it, but sometimes if we're on the Zoom, I just, I do it afterwards. They'll either get a text or they'll get the email to do it, and then they'll get loaded up into MLS.
Okay.
What else?
Hey, Megan. I may have missed this, but do you also focus any on the 3 to 5 or so must not haves when you're?
Well, I ask them what they are, but like, okay, let's say somebody tells me they don't want, I had somebody tell me this, they didn't want like an inclined driveway. Well, I can't filter for that in MLS. So I explained to them that this is why going through the listings that I email to them and then going through the photos that they see on Zillow, Truly, or whatever, is how they're going to create their wish list of homes, because their top 5 like not haves, I may not be able to filter for them. So they're
Gotcha.
going to have to trash the houses themselves.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
What else? Thanks, Kim. You're telling them where to get the buyer template. Oh, here, she told you create a buyer template and designs. Thanks, baby is precious. You tell them the top 3 with the same script. What is that, Jay? I don't know what you're talking about. Top 3. I don't know. Jay, come on. You've been in the biz longer than me. What you got?
No, you said 5 houses or show
Oh.
10 houses. I go, no, I'm like top 3. The same script, like, hey, they'll be gone. So we're not looking at 10 houses, we're looking at 3,
Right.
Maybe 4 because one might be gone.
Right. So I would only ever say 5. And the past couple of buyers have been like, oh my God, I can't do that. And I'm like, whoa. 5 in one day. That's it. And it's not like I'm not going to show you more houses, because, hey, you may look at all 5 of those. You may write an offer, and then all of a sudden 4 of them go under contract and you don't win the bidding war. And guess what? None of those 5 are left. If you loved them all, usually not. So I kind of give them the scenario. So yeah,
Yep.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
But
so to have a backup, and then people are like, oh, I want to look at 20. I'm like, well, why look at homes that you don't like? They're not worth your top 3. Why look at them?
Yes. I'll also tell you that's super important on the feedback, because I've been going through calling past clients and getting some feedback to help in some branding. And the one thing they've said consistently is, well, you really listened and you showed us the homes that we wanted. Like, you didn't show us any. And that was a big difference from their prior realtor to me. Like, their prior realtor showed them a bunch of homes they didn't want and they didn't understand. And then I listened and I showed them 5. And at the 3rd one, they said, this is it. Where do I sign? So that's why the process works. What else, guys? Okay, cool. Well, that's it. We'll email you that, the buyer template form that I have. The tenant stuff, Kim, it's in Outlook as a template email. And it's got the checklist and the TAR form and all that in the email. And then, the presentation she sent you, and you just tweak it. So my tweaks were just to content, obviously my contact information. And then I changed the photos to real houses that I really sold instead of the silly stock stuff. And if you only sold one house, use all 36 photos from that one house. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And I liked it because it shows personality for you. If that's not you, then just do you. You do you. But people seem to like it. So cool. All right, guys. See you around town.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you.